See Larry Elder at Cigar Night on Thursday, May 17th at the Bolingbrook Golf Club. Tickets on sale now at 560theanswer.com/cigar.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. So tax day has come and gone now.
Oh, wait, do-over. Are you sure? I'm not going to get another mulligan here?
No, I mean, again,
I mean, I didn't see it coming.
No blame, right. You can't blame the IRS for being a little flat-footed. Tax day can sneak up on you. Now, Tax Freedom Day.
Ooh, freedom.
Tax freedom, where you, stop working for the government and start working for yourself in terms of your take-home dollars. That day nationally is today, April 19th. So today's Tax Freedom Day.
And it's High Five Day.
You got
National High Five Day.
Well, you high five over being Tax Freedom Day, except in Illinois.
What, it's a low five or maybe no five?
Illinois is later. We're 10 days from now. We're April 29th, which is 47th in the nation in tax freedom. So we're, as usual, in the bottom five in any sort of metric that measures quality of life. For more on this topic and the state of affairs with the tumult and leadership at the top of the GOP in the House, which we started talking about a little bit last week with Steve Moore. We're pleased to be joined by the aforesaid Steve Moore, Wall Street Journal columnist, senior economist for CNN. Steve, thanks for being with us.
Hi, guys. Good morning. By the way, we just came out with our new rich state, poor state rankings of the states.
We had
when you think, it's sort of like that line from Dumb and Dumber, just when you think you can't do anything dumber. Illinois has actually moved from 46th worst to 48th worst. So
yeah.
Things are not improving in Illinois. The tax burden, the regulation burden, the forced union policies are chasing businesses and workers and capital out of that state. And as we've talked about before on the show, I mean, when you're losing population to West Virginia, you got something seriously wrong.
We actually talked with your economist friend Jonathan yesterday about that very report.
Oh, good.
We were cheating on
you know all about this. I mean,
yes.
It's just I didn't think that things. I mean, look, you're banging right on the door of New York for worst place, and it has to change. Or Illinois will. By the way, congratulations! I hear that the temperature is all the way up to the 40s today. So
yeah.
I know that's a heat spell.
so that we got that going for us. Well, let me ask you this, because I put this question to Jonathan and see if you agree. See if there's consensus between you and Art Laffer and Jonathan. All the problems that face Illinois, the unfunded pension liabilities, the high property taxes, highest in the nation, increasing corporate and personal income taxes, and so on and so forth, workers' comp costs. If there was one thing you could do, and only one thing, what would be first on the priority list to most improve the economic conditions in Illinois? Just one thing.
Well, I don't know if I'm repeating what Jonathan said yesterday, our co-author on this, but I would argue that I think that's actually an easy question. I mean, that's a slow pitch right over the center of the plate, Dan.
All right.
And the answer is the state of Illinois must become a right-to-work state.
That's what Jonathan said.
That's not anti-union.
Yeah.
Is that what Jonathan said?
Yep.
Look, it's not anti-union. It doesn't say you can't have unions. I mean, I'm not against unions. I'm just against people being forced to join unions against their will. There is a Second Amendment, which basically, an amendment that basically says you have the right to assemble, the freedom of assembly, which is the First Amendment, actually. And that First Amendment basically says, if you have the right to assemble, you have also the right not to associate with a group. And so this would do wonders. I've talked to CEOs all the time who determine where they're going to put more more businesses, more factories, more plants, more headquarters. And they basically say if a state is not right to work, they don't even consider that state. It's not even in the game. So that would be my number one thing.
Just on that topic of right to work, there's obviously a lot of bloviation coming from both Rahm Emanuel and Bruce Rauner about their proposals for Amazon HQ2 to bring HQ2 to Illinois. Is it your belief that...
I'm sorry, what issue are you talking about?
Amazon, the Amazon
headquarters,
HQ2.
Sure, yeah.
So
you're gonna chase those smokestacks, huh?
Well, exactly.
Yeah, well, we made the first round.
Well, yeah, right.
Yeah.
The top 20. But here's the thing. Is it your belief that there is no way that Amazon will locate its HQ2 in a non-right-to-work state?
I doubt it. I mean, it's look, Chicago. Where are they thinking about putting that?
Georgia,
facility?
Texas.
No, I mean we're in Illinois.
Loop,
Yeah.
West Loop, South Loop is a
Yeah.
possibility,
Yeah,
or
right.
possibly
Look,
in Oak Brook where
sure.
the old McDonald's campus was.
Okay.
Right.
Because look, I mean, Chicago. I've said this many times. I love Chicago. It's one of my favorite 3 or 4 cities in the world. It is a world-class place to live. They're incredible. It's the capital of the Midwest. It is an awesome city. Great sports, great people. Wonderful museums and culture. I mean, it's just being destroyed by politics. And so, maybe Amazon may think, there's so many great things about Chicago that they will overcome the fact that it's high tax and high regulation, but I doubt it. I doubt it. And look, if you became a right to work state, and by the way, you're being surrounded now by right to work states. You know that Indiana is now right to work, Wisconsin is right to work, West Virginia is right to work. I mean, there's only a few states left that aren't right to work, and so you stick out like a sore thumb. But look, I hope, Dan and Amy, you're not going to provide billions of dollars of Amazon to come.
Right.
Well,
Are you?
Well, they're
Well-
trying to, but it's not going to be enough, I guess, is the point.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't get in a bidding war. I mean, look, I just think it's I don't believe in corporate welfare. You guys have known me for a long time. If Amazon wants to come, great. It'll create a lot of jobs, tens of thousands of jobs for people in Chicago. But to just give them all this taxpayer money when you already have large deficits makes no sense to me.
Well, speaking of welfare and entitlement programs, now that Paul Ryan is going to be leaving Washington, D.C., are we ever going to tackle that issue, or is that just going to be looming out there with, the Dreamers Act and all of that?
First of all, let me say something about Paul Ryan. I don't always agree with Paul Ryan about strategy, but I think the guy has done a great job as Speaker, and I know my conservative friends kind of grumble about him. I know you do, Dan, at times, grumble about Paul Ryan. But look, the guy's a supply sider. He got his political and policy education from the great Jack Kemp, and I met Paul Ryan when he was 23 years old and still had pimples on his face. And he is right-minded. We would not have gotten this historic tax cut done without Paul Ryan. So I think he served the country very well, and I'm sorry to see him leave. Although it's probably time. I mean, he's done his time. It's probably time for him to get a real job now. In terms of where the party is headed, look, I'm a big believer in pressing the envelope on this idea of work for welfare reforms. And this is not because I think we want to save money on welfare. It's simply the way you help people advance economically. You don't do a service to anyone by giving them things for free, whether it's free food, free housing, free this, free that. If people can, my parents taught me something very simple. I have a very great life lesson. Never do something for someone they can do for themselves. And sometimes I violate that as a parent, and I regret it. If your kids can do it themselves, don't do it for them.
No, but it's hard just to tell them to do it when you could just do it yourself.
That is true, but you don't. It's really true. I mean, it's like if you start giving people stuff, they feel entitled to it. That's why all these kids on college campuses who've never worked a day in their life think free everything is a wonderful thing. And socialism, what a great system! Everything's free.
Any insights you have on who are going to be the candidates to replace Paul Ryan as Speaker? The prospect of perhaps a Jim Jordan.
Well, of course, McCarthy is the big favorite. I mean, there's two issues here, Dan. One is whether or not Paul Ryan will leave immediately from the Speaker's position, and there are many who would like to see that happen in the House. I believe he should serve out his term through the end of this year, and then it's going to be a free-for-all. Like, McCarthy is obviously the big front runner here. But, Jim Jordan is a strong conservative, and he has a lot of support. And, there's a reason that McCarthy was not the Speaker the last time around. Remember, it was his term.
Yeah, he couldn't speak English.
Words are hard.
Yeah, exactly. He couldn't get the 218 votes, and that's how they ended up with Paul Ryan. I'm not so sure that he can get 218 votes today. But I'll tell you this. I mean, I don't want to be a downer this morning, but I'm not so sure he's going to be running for Speaker next year. He may be running for Minority Leader, and
Right.
Nancy Pelosi may be the next Speaker, God forbid.
Well, let me ask you something else about Paul Ryan, because I understand, and you know this inside the Beltway. If Paul Ryan were to go to American Enterprise Institute, for example, to replace Arthur Brooks, who's retiring, is the new game I understand inside the Beltway is people like Paul Ryan who have big campaign war chests. One of the ways that they essentially convert that to personal use is to go to a 501c3 because you can take your campaign fund, make a huge donation to a 501c3. A charitable contribution is a legitimate expenditure, and then that factors into the salary that they pay you at that think tank. What about that?
Well, that's news to me. I have not heard about that. But look, I think the ethical thing for Paul Ryan or any of these people to do is, you don't get rich off your campaign contributions. I think if any of these guys, I'm not talking specifically about Paul Ryan, what they ought to do, I've got an idea. Why not donate that money to reduce the budget deficit and reduce the national debt? How about that idea?
Okay. All right. Well, that's fair enough. Just wanted to,
why
make
not
sure
do
people are
something
watching.
to actually reduce the deficit, not increase the deficit, because all these guys do is spend and spend and spend. And I got to tell you, I think Republicans are in big trouble in no small part because of this obese spending bill. Everywhere I go, Dan and Amy, I'm in Florida today, people are so pissed off about the spending, and they blame Republicans for it. And how can you not? They run the House and the Senate and the White House.
He is Steve Moore, Wall Street Journal columnist, senior economist for CNN. Steve, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
All right, see you guys. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Yeah, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.